Hello, everybody. Welcome to the rootinest, tootinest comic book podcast on earth, Flea Market Fantasy. I am your co-host, Mike L., and as always, I'm joined by...
Michael Dell of the El-Dell-Radio show.
That is correct. You got your name right. Okay, so this week is your pick, so why don't you tell the listeners what you picked this week?
We're going to the UK, Michael.
All right.
The United Kingdom. The owner and master of Canada, right? Is that really true?
Well, technically, yes. We pledge allegiance to the Queen.
Yeah. And we're going to go Captain Britain number 26 from 1977.
I was just checking to make sure I read the right one. Okay.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, you didn't seem too excited. I said Captain Britain, 26. I was waiting for a big applause or something.
I'm like, oh my God, did I read the right one? But just to confirm, what's the title again? It's Hickory Dickory Death.
That's right, the best title in the history of comic books.
That is the best title.
Hickory Dickory Death. And this is the first, Captain Britain was the first original content published by Marvel UK. Each of these issues would have 8-page stories of Captain Britain, which were all original, and then they would run reprints in the rest of the issue, and there'd usually be like 3 other titles. So the issue we're reading today, and I'm going to make you read all of them to get back at your DC shenanigans. The second story is a reprint of the first half of Fantastic Four 122. The third story is a reprint of the third part of Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Volume 1, number 3. And the fourth story is a reprint of the third part of Marvel Team Up number 9, starring Iron Man and Spider-Man.
This is true.
And all these issues are black and white, Michael.
Right. Now, we briefly talked about this before the show, but I'm going to bring it up again. But you said you'd never read any UK comics before this, right?
That is correct.
Because I've read, like I said, I read a stack, and they're just for the listeners out there that don't know, if you're into G.I. Joe and Transformers especially, I'm sure people know this now, but in the 80s no one knew. But there's a whole catalog of stories in the UK that were very rarely, if ever, published in the U.S. And mostly for G.I. Joe and Transformers and other oddball titles, but even for Spider-Man and Hulk, as far as I know. So, I don't know. It's just a cool little factoid to know, you know?
And like I mentioned, this was their first original content published by Marvel UK. So initially, they're all just reprints, right? And this was published weekly, by the way.
Right,
which is crazy.
And I don't know if you know this, but you know they're also bigger and thinner, right? Like they're closer to the size of like Rolling Stone magazine. You know what I mean?
Oh,
yeah. But they're thinner, even though there's, I don't know how many pages this is, but I don't know if the paper's different. But it's almost like reading almost like I don't want to say a pamphlet, but it's like a really thin pamphlet.
Yeah. A thin pamphlet. So even though the stories, like this Captain Britain story we're reading, it's only 8 pages, but again, it's coming out weekly.
Right.
Now, that's kind of a weird business model. Now, were they doing a lot of weekly stuff back in the 70s?
You mean with American Marvel, you mean?
Yeah, like they didn't do any weekly stuff.
That's the problem, is that's why they had to split up the stories and fill in. That's why you had these weird titles like, The Incredible Hulk and Planet of the Apes. Spider-Man and Zoids, because they would just pack the back of the issue with other characters, right?
Like, what was Marvel UK thinking behind running? I know, I'm sure you probably don't know this, but what would be the reasoning behind running it weekly? That seems like quite the burden.
You're totally right. I really don't know what they were thinking, and it's also weird because, as we'll see, the break points are not always ideal. They're kind of just in the middle of a scene.
Yeah,
and it'll just be continued next week. So it's kind of awkward.
Yeah. So. And let me see here. This started out in color, and then it went to black and white with issue 24 due to poor sales. Well, no shit. You're putting it out every week.
Right.
How do you expect the little street urchins in London to save up their pence to buy new books every week?
Mm-hmm.
It's too hard. So in 1977, then it canceled with issue 39. So this is still in 77 because again, every week.
Right.
But then it was added to Marvel UK Spider-Man book, and which became Super Spider-Man and Captain Britain was the title of that book.
That's another weird one. I was going to mention that one, Super Spider-Man.
And Michael, I was reading later about Captain Britain. Apparently, he was Spider-Man's roommate in
Really?
Were you aware?
No,
yeah,
I
like
had no idea.
Where did Spider-Man go to college? Empire State University or
Empire
something?
State University, yes.
Yeah, well, Captain Britain was his roommate for a little bit.
Really?
Because Captain Britain came over to finish his studies.
Interesting.
And they were roommates. I had no idea. Yeah. So,
now,
there you go.
You also know, he started in another series, right? What was it called? Wasn't it called Marvel Superheroes or something? Or
No. This is coming up. Wait, hold on.
I don't want to screw up your chronology.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just switched notes. In 1978, Chris Claremont and John Byrne introduced Captain Britain to U.S. audiences in Marvel Team-Up 65 and 66. Have you read those, Michael?
I have not, no.
Yeah.
I don't think
so. So then, in 1981, writer David Thorpe and artist Alan Davis, who I love, brought the character back to the Marvel Superheroes anthology in the UK.
Go. Right.
Yeah. And Davis, that's when Davis redesigned the costume to give him the cool costume that he has today.
Which is the Union Jack. Right?
Yeah, the white and the British flag and everything.
Right.
I don't want to say Union Jack because it could confuse people, because another good UK superhero, Michael, Union Jack.
Oh, yes, correct. But his is more blue. It's more like blue-based, and Captain Britain's more white-based, right?
Correct.
Right.
But and Union Jack has like a full mask. Like a full blue mask he wears.
Very cool.
But yeah, I like Union Jack. Maybe we'll read some Union Jack at some point, because I've never really read any of them.
There you go.
But yeah, Captain Britain's costume is spectacular. Love it.
Yep.
All right, and then Alan Moore took over that book at issue 387.
Alan Moore? I
yeah.
I've got a collection of all those. Yeah, they're great.
You love Alan Moore.
That's right.
And he did the famous Jasper's Warp storyline, probably the most famous Captain Britain storyline.
Yep.
And then in 1987, Captain Britain really became familiar with U.S. audiences with Excalibur. He joined the Excalibur team.
That's right.
With Nightcrawler, Kitty Pryde, Rachel Summers, Megan, his girlfriend Megan.
Not much of a superhero name there, right?
Nah, it could have been something a little better than Megan. Mm-hmm. Was that Lockheed Widget? They had a little Widget guy, right? A little ribbit head.
I don't know what he was. If he was an alien or what.
Was that everybody? Did I name them all? I think so.
I think. Well, I mean, there was there's different members that came later, but that's the original lineup, I think, for the first few years at least.
And then I heard there's millions of Captain Britons now. Like there's like a Captain Britain Corps or something, or not millions, but
I think it's one of those ideas where they went to all the parallel dimensions and they got all the Captain Britons and teamed them up.
It's the worst. I hate shit like that.
But you know what? I actually think that idea is from like this time. Might even be from Alan Moore. I'm not sure. Like the beginning of that idea, you know.
No, I think it's way more recent than that. But I don't know. Well, I don't know, because Alan Moore, they were going different dimensions and shit too, right?
There's definitely different parallels there. In fact, I think we talked about this, but that's where it wasn't Alan Moore, it was before him. But that's where they came up with the whole designation of Marvel as being on Earth 616. It was during that storyline where they were going to different dimensions. I think that's where it comes from.
Yeah. All right. It's all very confusing. All right, so Captain Britain, the character, his real name is Brian Braddock, not to be confused with Benjamin Braddock of The Graduate fame, because Dustin Hoffman would make a terrible Captain Britain.
Right.
Now, do you know The Graduate, Michael? You seen it? Like,
of course.
Fair enough. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, there's big good future in plastics, Michael.
I use that line still, but the amount of laughter I get has diminished over time.
Yeah, see how I loved it.
No one understands it. Yeah.
So Captain Britain 1 again started in 1976 over there in the UK, and his creators are unknown, which is pretty crazy. Yeah,
really?
Like if you go to some places, you'll see Claremont and Herb Trimpe, but that's not really true. They try to date like who came up with the idea, and they can't pinpoint who exactly had the idea. And the best they can come up with is that John Romita Sr. probably designed the original outfit for him, did the original character design, but they really do not know who the specific creator of Captain Britain is.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is weird. Would you like to describe the original costume, Michael? Because it's not as cool as the other one.
Well, okay. I'm trying to find a color version other than this cover, but it's basically all red. He's got parts of the British UK flag on his mask, but then the bottom half of his face is all blue, and then he's got like I'm not sure what this is called, like the shield or whatever on his chest. Not a shield, but what is that called? Like a
coat of arms kind of thing.
Yeah, coat of arms, which of course I can't find a good shot of it, but
it's like a lion.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like either a lion or a unicorn. But,
but yeah, so it's mostly red though. But cool thing about that logo on his chest, one of the reasons they wanted to redesign the costume, I forget the editor's name at the time. I think maybe his last name was Neary or something. But the emblem on the chest of that lion, it's actually the logo they use in the UK to designate that eggs are fresh.
Well, of course.
So he's like, we really need a new costume.
Right. I thought you were going to say it was just too hard to draw or something.
No, they didn't want it to be confused with the dairy industry, I guess. Right. So, all right, we'll get maybe more into... well, I guess we might as well... Nah, we'll save it. I was going to talk about more about his costume and Unique, but we'll talk about it here in a minute. There's a lot of Captain Britain. I was telling Mike L before the show, I got like 2 full pages of notes.
2 pages, right.
Had to start a different file on the old tablet.
Unheard of on Flea Market Fantasy.
There you go. Brian Braddock was the son of Lord James Braddock and Lady Elizabeth Braddock. So they were very wealthy, and they lived on the Braddock Manor. Mm-hmm. And his twin sister is Betsy Braddock, who the kids will know as who, Mike L?
What's her name? Shylock.
That is correct, Shylock. And they have an older brother named Jamie Braddock, who turned out to be a villain.
Did I tell you the weird thing I heard? Some reviewer came up with this, and I don't know if it's true or not, but what he thinks the origin of the word or the name Shylock is.
Okay.
It's a play on psyche or psyche. Psyche, Shylock. Ah. The key unlocks the...
I gotcha. That's pretty good.
Cool, eh? Yeah.
Now, my favorite Shylock is the original. The British Betsy Braddock with like the purple hair.
Right, and the hood.
Yeah.
Right, she had a hood and a cape.
Well, the hood came later, I think.
Okay.
Because the original Betsy Braddock was, she just wore like the little pink outfit. It didn't even look like a superhero outfit, really. Looked just like a blouse. I don't know. But then they made her into the Shylock. Jim Lee made her and put her consciousness into an Asian lady's body. And she became like a ninja assassin. It's
one of the weirdest stories ever written by Chris Claremont. I don't know what he was thinking. It
what I remember,
character, right?
There was this thing called the Surge, or what was it?
Oh,
the Surge.
Siege Perilous or Siege.
Yes,
whatever.
Siege, something like that. Yeah, Siege Imperialis or something. And it was like a dimensional portal or something. If you passed through it, it changed you or something. So it changed her into an Asian assassin. So I don't know.
Yeah, it makes no sense, but
nah.
Yeah, the Siege. How do you pronounce that? Perilous, Perilous, Perilous.
Perilous? I don't know.
Yeah, whatever.
But yeah, it wasn't so good. I don't know. I like the British Betsy Braddock.
Now,
and I was going to say another thing about Betsy Braddock that people may not realize is she had bionic eyes.
That's true. Yeah, they don't really talk about that much.
Because she was, for a while, she took over as Captain Britain. And a fella, who was the fella that took her eyes out? I can't remember his name. But he just gouged her eyes out. And so she had to get bionic eyes.
Really? Now, again, this is probably common knowledge to our listeners, but you might not know this, Mike Dell. But you know that years later, like maybe 92-ish, they basically introduced the idea that while we may have thought that Shylock was put into a new body, that actually, how did it work? The Shylock that we knew from like 86 to 92, it was actually a different person with Shylock's mind in her, but her consciousness from that Asian ninja body went into the original Betsy Braddock, and she came back, and she was called Quanon. Did you know about this?
No. I'm really...
It's crap.
I'm really sad that you told me about it.
Yeah, it's
We're going to have to cut this out of the podcast.
She came back, and then 2 issues later, she was dead. So it was really, really pointless. Anyway.
And we should say the Japanese Psylocke, she does not have bionic eyes. She has normal eyes because she went through that thing. But I don't know. It's all so confusing. The comic books, they should simplify. Just simplify things.
They like to retcon things and make them more complicated than they need to be.
You know what they should do, Michael, is they should have some sort of a crisis event.
Right.
To simplify all the stories.
And wipe everything out and start from scratch, right?
Because that will make things so much easier to understand.
Right.
All right. Where are we in the story here? So Lord James Braddock, Brian Braddock's dad, was, I guess, some sort of a computer genius. And beneath the Braddock Manor, he created what is known as the Mastermind computer. Are you familiar with this, Michael?
No, is this related to the Sentinels?
No. Oh, you know what? Because the Sentinels did have a mastermind.
Yeah, there's no connection.
Probably. It probably is him. Because this computer became alive.
Well, there you go.
And it started absorbing the minerals underneath Braddock Manor to like bring itself to life. And so it eventually became like a physical robot walking around. And it probably is the same guy.
Oh, so that's the Master Mold Sentinel, whatever his full name is, yeah.
Maybe, yeah. Well, because this was Mastermind and that was Master Mold.
Oh, okay, sorry, 2 different things. I misheard you there.
But who knows? Because if it's a living computer, I don't know. We'll look into it later. But anyway, this living computer guy killed both of Brian Braddock's parents, electrocuted them, killed them dead.
Rough.
Brian Braddock was also a graduate student in physics, and he was working at Darkmoor Research Center when it was attacked by the Reaver, who is a criminal boss in the UK. I guess maybe a comparison would be kind of like maybe Hammerhead and the Magia or something. Possibly.
Mm-hmm.
So during the attack, Brian tried to escape on his motorcycle because, all cool kids in college have their own motorcycles in the 70s. But sadly, he wrecked his motorcycle because the Reaver and his men were chasing him or something. So he went off a cliff, and he survived, but he was bleeding, and he was mortally wounded. And he was about to bleed out and die when who did he see, Michael? Any guess?
I have no idea. Oh, so wait, the spirit of you. I don't know who.
Of Merlin. Merlin the wizard.
Okay, interesting.
And Merlin's daughter, Roma. And they said, hey, Brian Braddock, we'll let you live only if you promise to be Great Britain's champion. And he said, all right, sounds like a good deal. So they presented him with a choice. He could either choose the Amulet of Right or the Sword of Might. Which would you take, Michael?
I guess the sword? What did he pick?
He took the Amulet of Right.
Huh.
And so he became Captain Britain. And then that Reaver guy found him, and he chose the Sword of Might, and he became this evil, like, strong knight guy. Like,
What was his name?
Jim. No, I think it was just a Reaver. Because he doesn't really... Captain Britain just beat his ass then. They had a big fight, and Captain Britain beat him, and I think that's the last we hear of him. But I'm sure he came back at some point. But yeah, so the deal was the Amulet of Right was seen as the path of reason. And because Brian Braddock, he didn't believe himself a fighter, he didn't choose the sword. But that Reaver guy, he believes in violence. So the Sword of Might was the way of violence. And the Amulet of Right... proved superior. Reason over violence, Michael.
That's what I always say.
So, the Amulet of Right. So we'll get into that. That was one of his big things. That's how he got his power, for the Amulet of Right. Okay. And he had to rub it to get the power.
Wait, he had to robot?
Yeah. Rub it.
Oh, I'm confused because that sounds like the way you pronounce robot. All right.
Rub it. Rub it. Do you hear the difference? Rub it.
I can hear the difference. Yeah, this is like me trying to explain English to my friend Roman. We both can't understand each other, and these little subtleties. Yeah.
Rub it. He also had a quarterstaff given to him by Merlin.
Right.
And it had 4 buttons on it. One button would create a force field around him. The second button would extend the staff, so it would be like a vaulting pole.
Mm-hmm.
The third button, which he rarely ever used, would like shoot out a beam to like disintegrate anything in front of it. And the fourth button, apparently he never pushed.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
He said for some reason he never pushed the fourth button.
I was gonna say, like, there's got to be a secret behind that button somewhere.
Yeah, because if I get a quarterstaff with 4 magic buttons, damn well better believe I'm pushing every button.
Absolutely.
You know? I'm not
once,
stopping.
Right?
Yeah, I guess he was scared. So eventually the quarterstaff, I guess the writers thought it's too clunky or whatever with all the buttons. So they shortened it up, and Merlin gave him the Star Scepter. The Star Scepter. It's a shorter little staff, and this granted him the power of flight. But he could only fly for like 15 minutes.
That's cool though.
Yeah.
I like
that's all you need.
Right.
That's all you need.
You can get anything you need to do while flying, you can do in 15 minutes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, eventually, Michael, this would also be retconned. They got rid of the scepter. Like when Alan Davis redesigned the costume, they made the costume itself was the source of the power. But then even that was changed a bit. So he always has, Brian Braddock always has his power, but the suit amplifies it and acts as a battery. Because when he's away from the British Isles or whatever, he loses some of his strength.
Okay.
In a way, it's like Snowbird in Canada or you in Canada. You know, like when we take you out of Canada, you get weak.
Within 60 minutes, I'm dead.
Like you go across the border into Detroit for those comic book things, and then you have to hurry back. You have to hurry back.
That's right.
Otherwise, you're screwed. So it's kind of the same with Brian Braddock. So long as he's wearing this suit, like if he's in the U.S., he's fine, you know. But if he were to take the suit off, he'd be weaker. And his normal powers, he's like super strong, durable, all that stuff. And he can fly now. Yeah, so they just made him able to fly without the scepter. Like, they just made that part of him, too.
Huh.
And all his powers are magical in basis, yeah.
Isn't that convenient when a character has, like, a device that gives them powers, and then over time it just becomes part of their body?
Well, in fairness, I guess Merlin's given him all these powers, so they always just said, hey Merlin, can you, like, upgrade? And they're like, all right, we'll go back and we'll fix it up. So in this sense, it kind of works just because Merlin's involved.
All right.
And then what else? There's something else about his powers. Oh, his powers weaken, like I said, and they're also tied to his confidence, which is interesting. So when he's really down on himself, like if he feels a little fat one day, he's not going to be that good. But if he's very confident, he's super strong.
Ooh, I'd be useless with those powers then. After going to Taco Bell and taking a look in the mirror, I'd be down for the count, man. I'd be susceptible to any supervillain attack. Jeez.
Yeah. So there it is, Captain Britain. Anything else you can think about Captain Britain, Micah? Anything else come to mind?
Not really, other than I definitely recommend the Alan Moore run, which I love.
You love Alan Moore.
That's right.
If you could only save one person, Alan Moore and Neil Gaiman are both drowning, Michael. You can only save them.
That's not even a choice. It's Alan Moore. What would be a really tough choice is Alan Moore and Grant Morrison.
Oh, my God.
That would be tough.
No, you don't save either of them. You just let them both fight it out until they both drown because they hate each other so much. Yeah.
I would probably pick Grant Morrison only because I would think that Alan Moore would try to kill me after I saved him. You know?
All right.
Anyway.
Fair enough. All right, so in this story, a couple other characters we need to discuss. Lance Hunter is featured in this book. Lance Hunter. Do you know anything about Lance Hunter, Michael?
Nothing.
His first appearance was Captain Britain 1977, and he's created by Gary Friedrich and Herb Trimp. Or Trimpy. How did we decide to say that, Trimp?
I said Trimpy, but I was wrong. I think it's Trimp.
Okay. And he is the director of Strike, Special Tactical Reserve for International Key Emergencies. That's what that stands for.
Which
Strike.
is, I kind of heard of this before, but is this the UK version of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Correct. So Lance Hunter would be the UK version of Nick Fury.
Gotcha.
But when you hear Special Tactical Reserve for International Key Emergencies, right away I realized first they came up with the acronym, and then they came up with the meaning.
100%. Yep.
They were stretching there. So yeah, Lance Hunter strike. And for you fans of the Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show, Lance Hunter was a regular on there for a couple seasons.
Hold on. I used to watch that show.
He was the British guy. You know, they had Mockingbird on there, who was played by that super hot girl.
That was awesome. Yes.
Yeah, he's like a British guy, a wise ass kind of cocky.
Right. He's a great character.
That was Lance Hunter.
Did you watch that show?
Yeah, I haven't watched the last 2 seasons, but I enjoyed it. Yeah.
I watched it for a couple years. It was pretty good. Yeah.
The second half of season 4 is really good.
Really?
Really good. Yeah.
Okay.
Who was the girl that played Mockingbird on there? She was something.
She's beautiful. Her, what's it? It's a Polish name.
Is like Anna involved in it somewhere? The first name Anna?
No, but I also know her because she was in the Orville. She's the second in command on the Orville. Her name is...
This is the part where we Google things.
Yeah, I'm Googling it. Don't worry. It's... Oh, look at her. Anyway, I gotta see her name. Where's her freaking name? Doesn't even...
Yeah, you think the name would pop up right away.
Oh my gosh. Adrian... Wait, Adrian...
Palicki or something like that, right?
Yes, Palicki.
Yeah, Palicki.
She is so sexy, eh? Holy
See, I
Moses.
said Anna, Adrian. It was close. There was an A involved. I knew that.
She was great in that. She's great in the Orville. And I'll have you know, she actually played Wonder Woman in an unaired pilot. Yeah. But you can actually
Wonder Woman with pants. Didn't she have pants?
I think so, yeah. I've never seen it, though, but it's definitely in the queue.
All right, so that's Lance Hunter. Also, Nick Fury's in this, and I think everyone knows Nick Fury, but his first appearance was Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos, #1, 1963, created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Michael, can you say what S.H.I.E.L.D. stands for? The acronym S.H.I.E.L.D.
I think you've asked me before. Strategic.
I have.
Strategic, hazard, intelligence. Tell me when I'm wrong.
Yeah, you're wrong on all of them so far. You're over 3.
Okay, what is it?
I have Supreme Headquarters of International Espionage Law Enforcement Division.
You know what?
But I thought strategic was in there too.
Because here's the thing is, you know what's crazy? They changed it.
I think so.
After 30 years, they changed it, and they might have changed it back, but I'm not sure what the original is now. Okay, it originally stood for you're right. Supreme Headquarters, International Espionage and Law Enforcement Division. Then in 1991, it was changed to Strategic Hazard Intervention Espionage Logistics Directorate.
Oh, I'm so glad they made that change.
Right, yeah. Check this out. In the movies, it stands for something different. Strategic Homeland Intervention Enforcement and Logistics Division.
Yes, that's the one that sounds the most familiar to me.
I mean, strategic is better than supreme, right? Like, it's kind of...
Yeah, because even when I was reading Supreme, I'm like, that's just wrong.
Right.
But yeah, that's what it was originally. And how do you feel about the Nick Fury, Michael? Do you like him with the white guy with the gray around the sideburns, or do you like the Samuel L. Jackson version? Bald?
Well, I mean, I grew up on the original, but I mean, now I love Sam Jackson, you know?
Yeah, I kind of agree. Like, I think it was a nice update. And it works. You know,
like the original worked in the setting of World War II as Sergeant Fury, but in the modern day setting, like the cigar chomping guy, World War II veteran doesn't work. So I like I like Sam Jackson.
Yeah, I think it was a good update. Did you ever see the David Hasselhoff version of Nick Fury?
Funny enough, no. But yeah, I knew it existed though.
Yeah. Also, the other thing to know about the Nick Fury is he's connected to the Infinity Formula. Are you aware of the Infinity Formula?
I'm assuming that's what keeps him young?
Yeah, it's like some secret potion. Kind of like you and, I always put things in Mike L terms. Acapulco Delight, I guess.
Yeah,
is your
there you
Infinity.
go. That's what keeps me young, yep.
That's your Infinity Formula. But yeah, that's why he's able to stay so young after all these years. Because he was, like you said, he was back in World War II. With Captain America in the original days, yet he wasn't frozen in ice, you know.
Yeah, that's kind of a little, you know, like I was actually, not to go off track, I know you got 2 pages of notes, but there was this huge thing on Facebook today, and they were talking about like, oh, want to hear my theory about how Superman stays young? He actually emits a field that keeps Lois Lane young and Perry White, and And all these people are piping in, and after a while I was like, you know what I think? I think it's a comic book, and it doesn't fucking matter. And if the writer says Superman's career started a quote few years ago, that's enough for me, and I don't give a shit.
And isn't it pretty common knowledge that Superman stays young by feasting on the blood and internal organs of babies? I think that's pretty well understood.
I didn't mention that, but yeah, everyone knows that.
Yes, yeah. So the big villain here, Michael, in this first story is Red Skull. The Red Skull. I love the Red Skull. He might be my favorite villain.
Really?
The Red Skull.
I think he's
yeah, because he's just so pure in what he is. He's just evil, and he has a big red skull. It's awesome.
Right.
His real name is Johann Schmidt, although I guess there's been a few Red Skulls over the years, but I'm talking about the OG. Johann Schmidt. And his first appearance was Captain American Comics, number 7, 1941. Way back in 41. And he was created by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby. Now, do you know his backstory, Michael?
Not really, no. Not at all.
Well, he was just a humble bellhop at a hotel.
Okay.
And Hitler was at the hotel. And he was yelling at his officers because they were so incompetent.
Okay.
And he said, see this bellhop over here? I can make him a better soldier than any of you. And that's what he did. He took young Johann Schmidt under his wing, and he mentored him into being the ultimate German soldier.
Wow.
Yeah.
If someone would do that for me.
I thought that's what Jolie was doing.
Yeah.
So originally he just wore a mask. Hitler gave him the red mask to instill fear in Germany's enemies.
Is this one of those things where his body then takes on the abilities or the looks of the device that he originally had? Amazing.
Yes, 'cause originally it was just a mask, but then later on he was using a weapon called the Death Dust, or Dust of Death, depending on how you want to say it. Dust of Death. And if he could get people to breathe it, it would transform them into like Red Skull looking people, like, and kill them.
Okay.
You know, shrivel up their face and their skin would turn red. So he was trying to get Steve Rogers with it, I believe, and he had this dust of death packed into a cigarette, because he liked to smoke them fancy cigarettes,
right?
With like the holder, like real classy.
Yes.
And I guess somehow it backfired, and he breathed it himself, so he turned himself into an actual Red Skull.
Okay, you know what's crazy is I think I've read that story, and I think it was in Captain America number 350, right?
I have no idea.
Because I know you got 2 pages, but I got to give you a quick story. In Captain America 300, the Red Skull, quote, dies, okay?
Yeah, then, he died many times, I guess.
And then later on, he came back in a cloned body of Steve Rogers.
Correct.
And in that same story, or around that same time, was when he breathed in the dust, and then, like you said, it made him into the Red Skull. So it's like perfect timing. He just came back, and it's, he's been dead for 50 issues, but now he's back, and now he's going to magically change from the clone of Steve Rogers into an exact duplicate of the mask he used to wear as the Red Skull.
Yeah, it's weird how that works out. He's just a normal fella, but then they gave him like some sort of super soldier experiment as well, right? So he basically has the same strength as Captain America now. Well, not the same strength, because Steve Rogers is a real fit dude, strong dude.
Right.
So he's a little stronger. But I think I read that Red Skull could lift 800 pounds.
Okay.
So, not super strong, but super for human,
Mm-hmm.
But anyway. Because Captain Britain, Michael, for comparison's sake, they say he can lift upwards of 80 tons.
What?
Yeah.
No, come on, really?
Yeah, when he's really confident and everything, yeah.
When he's really confident, okay, I'll give it to you then. All right.
Like, he's not as strong as the Hulk. He's a little less strong than Colossus, but he's right there.
I just didn't realize he was that strong. Huh.
Yeah, he's a big, strong dude. Captain Britain. Okay. What else about Johann Schmidt? I think that's everything. Well, I guess the Red Skull is also famous for always the Cosmic Cube, right? He's always chasing the Cosmic Cube and stuff like that. And he did appear in the Endgame there. And,
yep.
So that was cool. Oh, by the way, Michael, I guess in the Endgame there was a Easter egg about Captain Britain as well.
Really? I didn't catch that.
And there were rumors that maybe the Captain Britain's going to be introduced to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I'm sure they will one day.
during the Endgame film when my beloved Peggy Carter was on screen. Haley Atwell. I love Haley Atwell. Like everyone's so focused on Steve Rogers seeing Haley Atwell and being, oh, she's still alive. Because this is back when they went back in time. Remember him and Iron Man had to go back in time
to
get the Pym particles. Well, if you listen to what she's talking about a Braddock, Agent Braddock. And,
gotcha.
So, yeah, in the UK and stuff, so, yeah. All right, we mentioned Nick Fury. Let's go a couple others. In the Fantastic Four story, we get Galactus and Silver Surfer. But I think we should save them for when we talk, do an actual story about them. We'll get into their backgrounds. But they both first appeared in Fantastic Four 48 and 1966. Galactus is credited to Kirby and Lee. Silver Surfer's just credited to Kirby.
This is true.
Yeah, it's a little weird. Because Stan Lee loves Silver Surfer as well. It's one of his favorite
That's right.
characters.
He wouldn't let anyone else write him.
Yeah. And one final person in the final story with Iron Man and Spider-Man, we also get Kang the Conqueror.
Right.
Another top-tier Marvel villain.
Yeah, he's up there, yeah.
I'd say top 5, right?
Well, top 10, I would say.
Thanos, Red Skull, Doctor Doom, and then I think Kang is 4 or 5. Who would be ahead of Kang? Magneto.
I mean, what about Green Goblin? Here's the problem is, we're talking about, obviously someone like Dr. Octopus is not going to affect every character, but like Doctor Doom has, right? Like he's interacted with every character. So in that respect, Doctor Doom is the biggest. I don't know. I mean, who knows, right?
Yeah. I'd probably rank them Doctor Doom, Thanos, Red Skull, or no, I don't know. Who knows? We'll do it some other time. All right.
yeah. This sounds like a top 11 on LCS.
Yes. I think we did that actually once, but so many years ago. So Kang the Conqueror's real name is Nathaniel Richards, and he's a possible descendant of Reed Richards. They say possible. I always thought he was, but then I read he's a possible. So I guess they're waiting for the what's that place called when you send away to get your DNA results?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It was something 23.
Yeah, something like that. So they're waiting to get the results to find out if he's really. And his first appearance was Avengers 8, 1964, created by Lee and Kirby. And he's a 31st century scholar and time traveler.
Right.
I like that he's a scholar. He enjoys scholarly pursuits.
Very cool origin. Very cool.
He has a good look, too. We'll get into his look later.
Mm-hmm. So
there we go. There's the background on all the characters that we'll be discussing. And we'll talk about the creators as we go through. So I think we're finally ready for the issue, Michael.
Think so?
This is going to be a long episode of Flea Market Fantasy.
All right.
Because before the show, Michael and I was just yelling at Michael for like 45 minutes.
We're not going to bring that up on the air, though, because, well, we don't want to turn anyone against you, Mike Dell, so we'll save that for off the air, right?
Yes. But, so here we go.
Ya. All right. Okay.
Captain Britain, number 26, 1977. Let's talk about the cover, Michael. New, exclamation point. More pages than ever, exclamation point. The greatest superhero of all, exclamation point. Captain Britain.
10 pounds.
10 pence. 10 pence.
Oh, yeah, okay. I guess
if you're spending 10 pounds on a Captain Britain book in 1977, you're pretty rich.
Wait, what's the symbol for pounds? Oh, it's that weird little symbol with a line through it, right?
Yeah. 10 pence.
10 pence.
Yeah.
And then Captain Britain is jumping off of this big clock and wrestling.
Oh, it's not just a big clock, Michael. It's Big Ben.
Oh, it's Big Ben. Yeah, right. I forgot about that. A big watch.
Clock.
A big watch. Yeah. He's jumping off of Big Ben and grabbing the Red Skull. They're kind of like above the ground, obviously. Like they're not attached to anything.
Yeah.
So they're just about to fall to their deaths.
Exactly. That's the key point. They're about to fall to their deaths. And Red Skull is looking like really scared. But Captain Britain's looking very determined.
Right.
The other thing about Captain Britain's costume I want to mention, you mentioned his mask, how it's red at the top with some of the British Union Jack, and then the full blue like COVID mask down below. But the top, it's just flowing yellow hair.
Yeah, that is a very unique feature because I never noticed that. It's the only part of his body that's not covered is his hair.
Yeah.
It's so odd. Yeah. Huh.
Strange.
Anyway.
The cover's great, except Red Skull's left arm is freaking me out a little bit. I don't know.
Because it's on backwards?
Yeah, it's kind of like his arm should not be bending like that.
Unless... Wait, no. I think we got it wrong. Everything about it is right. It's that his head, he's it's his head that's turned too far back. That's
I don't know. But look at where the shoulder is. The shoulder is like by Red Skull's mouth, and then his hand is over, to the side. I think he put too much bend. He's trying to show that he's getting hit with force, so his arm's flying back. But yeah, that's not, your arm won't bend like you. You can't do
backwards, right?
Yeah. So, but I guess you know why he had to do that though, or otherwise we wouldn't see his face.
Right. And also, if the hand went too far down, it would go off the page, and so that's an example of composition over anatomy, right?
Yeah. And I didn't even notice this, but Micah, if you look closely, you can see the amulet of right dangling around his neck.
We are reminded which one he picked, right?
Yeah, the path of reason. But do you see it? I didn't even see it. They're flying back behind him.
Yep.
Like it's colored in kind of with that big clock. But
and I love the detail below them of like the people on the street looking up, and I just love those little details. Yeah,
the perspective and the the composition here is great.
Right.
And this is Buscema, right? I mean,
I believe so. Yeah. Oh, well, the interiors. Yeah, he's just. Oh my God, he's so good.
John Buscema. All right, so here we get into the book. It's black and white again, but I like the Stanley Presents Captain Britain, and right above it there's a little line: when student physicist Brian Braddock rubs his mystic amulet, he transforms into Britain's superheroic champion of justice. Who do you turn into when you rub your mystic amulet, Miguel?
I can't tell you. This is a kid's show.
Rubbing your mystic amulet.
Yeah.
So anyway. The story opens. They're on the big clock, Big Ben.
The big watch, yeah. And
well, Red Skull is sitting on one of the arms of the clock.
Right.
And Lance Hunter is on one of the other arms of the clock. And then Captain Britain is standing at the base of the clock.
Right.
So take it away, Michael.
Well, did we mention the title? Hickory Dickory Death?
Yeah, at the beginning we did. Yeah, Hickory Dickory Death.
Captain Britain, Lance Hunter, and the Red Skull dangle dangerously from Big Ben. The fate of all London hangs in the balance as the clock's hands move ever closer to the hour of doom and the ghastly game of Hickory Dickory Death.
And that's actually in the third panel, which is kind of weird.
So we get kind of weird. Yep.
We get two panels above that, and then we kind of get the introduction and the title and everything. So that's
I'm only going to assume because, and again, I don't know if you mentioned this, but this is original UK material. Like, this was not, like, this was published there first, so it's a little bit different because they got to fit more story into 8 pages or whatever this is, right? So maybe
we should also mention the story here is by Gary Friedrich, but the dialogue is by Gary Friedrich and Larry Lieber.
Yes, who's
and Larry,
that is, right?
Yes, Stanley's brother.
That's right.
Stanley's brother. He's also the editor here. And as we go through this, Michael, did you get the feeling like you could tell when Larry Lieber was putting in dialogue?
No, I didn't notice that, but I just noticed that the narration was clearly just imitating Stan Lee. But I didn't notice a drastic change in dialogue. Why did you?
Every once in a while, they'd use some jargon or phrasing or slogan or slang, I guess is what I'm looking for, slang.
Sure. Right.
That seemed real hip and with the times, and that seems like a Stan Lee thing to do. So I'm thinking maybe that was probably Larry Lieber. I don't know.
Right.
But anyway,
so they're wrestling here on Big Ben, and basically.
First, Captain Britain uses his quarterstaff to vault up to get up to the.
Right.
Yeah, so look at that.
Right, and he's like, the match isn't ended until I've had the last kick at a winning goal.
There you go. There's your UK for you.
Yeah.
You got to make it relatable to the UK kids. Let's talk about soccer.
Otherwise, they won't know what's going on. Right. And look! Wait! But I didn't notice this. But Red Skull actually acknowledges that. He's like, Schweinhund, this is no soccer match. It is a battle between life and death. Anyway. So it's cool because Red Skull explains his plan. He's like, when I press this button, I'll be teleported miles away to safety, leaving you and your loathsome countrymen to die when the clock strikes 12, right? So that's the master plan here.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Don't let it strike 12.
Right.
And where, if we look at the clock when it starts, they're about... well, they got a lot of time, actually.
Yeah, it's not that suspenseful. They got a lot of time.
Yeah, it's not even 11 o'clock yet.
It's not even 11, so they have like an hour and 5 minutes, or an hour and 14 minutes. Big deal.
It looks like an hour and 45 minutes, actually, because it's going the way.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I did it backwards. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
But what the hell? Why not just make it like 11:50?
I don't know.
Well, because then the hands of the clock would be right next to each other.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Design over reality, I guess.
Yeah, because the big thing of this issue is trying to get to the Red Skull because they're all separate, on the different arms of the clock. All right, anyway. But Captain Britain, he finally gets him. He sneaks his way up to the Red Skull. He's just a little bit more, and then he finally grabs his ankle, and Red Skull says, "No."
Right.
Oh, there's also a line, Red Skull's holding a little, garage door opener, and he says, "Fools, do you think the Red Skull would devise a mechanism simple enough for the likes of you to comprehend?"
Yeah, that's awesome.
But he's talking about, he has a little teleporter. He explains to them that he's holding a teleportation device. Oh, I guess that was in the first panel where he explains it.
I think this is a case of extra dialogue is added to explain it.
Yes.
Because it's so convoluted. Like, don't challenge him. The box he's holding might be a detonator switch. And then Captain Britain says, no, it's a miniature teleportation device. I've seen him use it, right? So it's just kind of one of those things where the art probably wasn't clear, so they had to add that in just so the kids knew what was going on.
So then after Captain Britain says that, Lance Hunter says, okay, then just try to hold him off until I can defuse the blaster bomb. Because there's some bomb hidden, like you said, that's going to blow up at midnight. And I'll give it my best shot. So basically that whole exchange was pointless. Like he says, it's a detonator. So no, it's not. It really is a teleportation device, like he told us last page. Oh, okay. Right. In that case, I mean, you didn't need any of that.
No, you're right.
But anyway. So he grabs Red Skull's ankle, and Red Skull falls off the clock arm, and he drops the teleportation device. And he's like, no,
and
not with my victory so close at hand. Yeah.
With hindsight, this whole thing makes no sense, but we'll get to that later. So he's now dangling from. Captain Britain's holding him, and he's like, drop me, send me to my death. But if you do, you'll also die when the bomb explodes. And then we cut away, right, to to another battle. So this is where is this?
This is Strike.
This is Strike. So this is a battle above the Nazis' Dockland headquarters between Strike and the Fourth Reich. Right, which is cool. So in this scene, Captain America is looking at the supposed dead body of Nick Fury, and he's lamenting the death of his friend, right? But then, of course, Nick Fury wakes up because he's not dead. Actually, first he shoots a guy that was about to shoot Captain America. Then Captain America turns around and is like, oh, you're alive. Huh. And he's like, Fury, if you weren't so ugly, I'd kiss you. I thought you were a goner. So so basically, like, okay, let's get down to business, right?
Yeah.
And then, and so then this is where it gets weird, because then there's a flashback. So then Nick Fury's talking about Captain Britain. And he's like, what does he say? Oh, yeah, so Captain America's like, when Captain Britain and I saw those planes firing rockets at us, I figured it was time for the big jackpot in the sky. And then it says it happened way back in issue 18. And then this is the flashback. It looked like we were goners. So they're showing them in a flashback inside this base, right? Running around trying to get...
Yeah, and by the way, big jackpot in the sky, that is slang right out of the Rat Pack. Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin.
Really?
And
interesting.
The first original Ocean's 11, they used that.
I saw that years ago.
The big jackpot. Yeah.
So they're inside this bomb shelter base, and they're trying to get out, and of course they do. But it's really weird because there's no. Usually flashbacks have like a transition or like something to indicate that it's a flashback, but there isn't one. Like usually the panels are rounded or something, but there isn't anything.
But look at that top panel of that page. It's great. Captain America running to his right. And Captain Britain in the background, like, going to the left.
Perfect.
So good.
Yeah, like, all this art is just stunning.
It's like, when they talk about the Marvel way of drawing action, this is it.
This is 100%, right. Because you obviously, he drew that, right? How to Draw Comics the Marvel way, that was him, yeah. And then even like the bottom left shot of Nick Fury in the foreground shooting the gun, like, that is a great shot right there, too, the perspective and everything. And so anyways...
but you know what's not so great? The dialogue.
So
that same panel, that same panel, in the middle of the room, there's a secret escape hatch. It's operated by the computer. And then Captain America says, can you open it? And can fish swim? Ooh. And they're lowering down through the door, and Captain America says, neat. Very neat.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. It's bad. And then, so basically, so this is technically a key part of the plot, is as they're flying away, because I guess they both have rocket packs. This base blows up, right?
Yes.
So it's like, yeah, we're not out of the woods yet. Not while there's still a germ bomb hooked to Big Ben, and only 50 minutes to get to it. So now they're on their way back to the opening scene, which is everybody wrestling on Big Ben, right? And then
yes, and now the clock hands look correct.
Right.
So it looks like.
Now
so I guess they've been out fighting for an hour and a half.
Yeah. Okay. His weight's becoming too much for me. I can't hang on much longer. Steady. But before the human burden can be transferred, he's falling. There's no saving him now. So the Red Skull is gonna fall, right?
Yep.
So, but guess what? The Red Skull says, "Fool, as you are doomed. The Red Skull is prepared for all eventualities. By dropping me, you have given me the means to escape. I have many jetpacks concealed in my boots to carry me to safety." Which means this whole time he could have done that. Yeah.
This is so great. I love it.
Yeah. So then Captain Britain leaps from Big Ben, and this is
tackles him.
The cover tackles him in the air, right?
Another perspective on the cover. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, this is so good. And so now they're falling. They're kind of falling, but they're wrestling. But it's okay because Red Skull's got his rocket packs.
But Red Skull says, "Fool, the rockets aren't strong enough to carry both of us. We're going to fall to our death."
Right. That's right. Yeah. So they're in trouble. And then, so now here, okay. So then this is more exposition. So then, what's his name? Captain Britain says the bomb's firing mechanism is in the computer. Oh no, sorry, that's Red Skull that says that.
Yeah, that's Red Skull.
And then Captain Britain's like, the compute, but it's miles away. Nobody can reach it in time. Yeah. How do you pronounce that? Yeah? Yeah, it's yeah.
Yeah, it's J-A, but
right,
yeah.
Okay, I should know
ja.
that. Right,
ja.
and the shock of that realization leaves you vulnerable. Oh, fuck. So that's how he gets the elbow in. He's distracted.
Elbows him right in the face.
Right. But not for long, because then he swings his pike. What is that staff thing called again?
Quarterstaff. Yeah, so he knocks Captain Britain free, but as Captain Britain's falling, brack. He hits him with the quarterstaff and shatters his rocket boosters. And so Red Skull is falling to his death, and so is Captain Britain. But Michael, what does he see?
Well, at first he quotes Shakespeare. Then he says, the flagpole, let's grab onto it. Yeah, he says, I can make sure that you're shuffled off this mortal coil with us. But then he sees the flagpole. He's like, must grab onto it. So then as he's falling, he grabs onto it. And the flagpole was a huge part of 70s comic books. Yeah, you're right.
Spider-Man, Daredevil, everybody is grabbing flagpoles.
But
Thank God for flagpoles.
Look at the next panel of Red Skull falling like Greg the Hammer Valentine face down on the pavement.
Well, it looks like, Red Skull just fell off the face of Big Ben, plummeted to his death, hits the ground, and he looks like Ric Flair when he does that.
Right. Yeah. Just face down. That's great. I guess his rocket packs didn't help, or his rocket boots.
Well, because Captain Britain shattered him with his quarterstaff.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, that's right. Brack. I forgot about the brack. So yeah, he lands on the ground.
Face first in the ground.
I love it. That's a great panel. And so then Captain Britain thinks all is lost. I failed. It's hopeless. The bomb has no firing pin. I can't defuse it. But guess what? Captain America and Nick Fury are on their way, and then seconds later, Captain Britain's like, "You say the computer was destroyed when the warehouse exploded?" And Captain America says, "It's all but certain." And then the caption. Then 1 minute later, they're looking at the clock. That's it, 12 o'clock and no explosion. Whew! That means the computer was demolished. That London is saved, and the Skull. We're rid of him for good. But then we see a panel of the Red Skull inching towards the detonator, right? Or no, the teleporter.
No.
Mini teleporter. Must reach it. Next week, will you never win?
Yes. So he has to reach the mini teleporter so he can die somewhere else.
Yeah.
You're still crushed. Your body's destroyed, Red Skull. You just fell off Big Ben. What does it matter if you get the mini teleporter? But the other thing I want to point out here, Michael, so Nick Fury and Captain America show up on their little jetpacks. They're flying in on their jetpacks. And then Captain Britain just jumps on Captain America's back. So he's holding him around the neck, and he's on his back with the backpack that is shooting hot exhaust. And the other next panel, you see the exhaust is just torching the hell out of his dick and balls. Look at that. Just... Oh my goodness.
All I can say is that I kind of hate this plot. I kind of hate it. You know.
Well, the problem with the plot is like it's completely meaningless because nothing that they're doing has any significance because it all doesn't matter.
Right.
None of it matters.
Right, because they accidentally... Well, they blew up the base, but they didn't know that was going to stop the bomb. But it did... But it's like, it's not like there was any timing to the decision or choice or, oh my God, we have to do this. Oh, we did it. It's like, oh, no. We already blew up that base. It's good. We're good. Are you sure?
Basically, they all failed at what they were trying to do, yet they still succeeded through happenstance and good fortune.
Right.
That's not what you want when you're plotting a story.
No.
The dialogue again was real questionable. I'm guessing it's Larry Lieber doing that dialogue.
Right.
But the art here, John Buscema, is spectacular.
Absolutely.
And like the set piece of being on Big Ben on the clock, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some good action stuff. There's a flagpole involved. Red Skull does the Ric Flair flop. So there's a lot of great stuff here. But the writing's questionable. Very questionable.
I would argue that you could probably have a new dialoguer rewrite this and make it much better.
Yes, just give me these pages of just the art and I could tell a better story.
Totally.
Like if you just fill in the dialogue yourself. They should do that. Just, hey, write your own comic book. Here you do. Make your own story.
Because, it's one thing, people always talk about remaking movies and that, but you can't improve on this art. But you could easily...
It's just classic Marvel comic book art.
Right. But you could easily just white out these bubbles and just write a better story in, right?
Yep.
But anyway...
So, all right, skipping ahead to Stan Lee, the Fantastic Four, the fabulous FF and all of mankind must finally face Earth's deadliest threat, Galactus Unleashed. And more John Buscema. Stan Lee is the writer.
That's right, the master.
So the first page, we get a big splash page of Galactus standing tall.
Galactus Unleashed. So, I mean,
how big is Galactus? Does his size change?
I was totally thinking that, especially later on in that scene with the Thing. I think this is fairly consistent, but on the opening page, it's very hard to tell because of the perspective. Like, it's hard to tell. I guess that car goes up to the bottom of his boot, but
because I swear I've seen Galactus look like bigger than cities.
That's definitely wrong. I think this is closer to the truth because I remember in his first appearance, he was standing on the roof of the Baxter building. So I think maximum he's like 25 feet tall or something.
All right.
Yeah. But anyway, so we get this great opening shot of Galactus standing in the city street in New York, and the FF are looking up at him, and again, this great detail. Like, I mean, the previous story was also drawn by John Buscema, but this is inked by Joe Sinnott. And I mean, I love Tom Palmer Jr., but Joe Sinnott is probably the best inker that Marvel's ever had, in my opinion. And so we just see all...
Did he... I'm sorry, did he used to work with Kirby a lot, right?
Yeah, and the FF, yeah. He was like the main inker for Kirby from about number 30-something all the way to the end. Yeah, so anyway. So yeah, we see the FF looking up at him, and then we see all these pedestrians, right? Like, there's someone in a barber shop looking up, a group of people on shock. There's like people in the city street. There's a guy running. His hat's falling off.
Interesting thing about that barbershop, Michael. Second floor.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, that's
true.
You
don't see a lot of barbershops on the second floor.
True. Anyway. And then we also see a woman peeking out her window on the right-hand side. Like, it's great, right?
Yeah.
And so basically, this is the one problem with Galactus is he said he was never going to come back, but sure enough, every couple of years he does, right?
Yeah,
so they got to explain, well, wait a minute, I thought you said you'd never come back. You promised us. He's like, well, yeah, about that. Actually, I just want to talk to Silver Surfer, right? Does he say that?
Well, he wants the Silver Surfer to be his herald again. He's coming back to get the Surfer.
So Silver Surfer just happens to be in the neighborhood, and he flies in.
Now listen, I love John Buscema, obviously, one of my favorites, but that second panel on page 2, he totally botches Galactus. Like, I don't know what's going on there, because look, like it's almost like his midsection is completely gone. And then they just...
Yeah, you're right. It's like his leg is coming out of his like pectoral.
Chest.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. Yeah. The one thing about John Buscema is he hated drawing superheroes. So
that seems odd.
He preferred Conan the Barbarian.
Yes.
So maybe that's why he was just kind of like, okay, I'm just going to get this done, whatever. Unfortunately, he's rushing through it, right?
Well, this was pre-Conan, though. He didn't even have a chance to be doing Conan these days.
Yeah, so he just thought he was going to hate everything he drew for the rest of his life, I guess, until Conan came along.
Yeah, we'll talk about Buscema here in a bit, but I did read a quote from somebody. I can't remember who it was, but they said it always seemed like John, he never really liked doing superhero books. He always wished he could be doing something else.
Right.
Yeah. But
That's
anyway.
too bad because he's so good. But anyway, so then Silver Surfer comes in and he's like, I'm your target and your prize, right? So they're arguing back and forth. And then meanwhile, the FF are at the bottom there, but, what's his name? Silver Surfer gets grabbed by Galactus because for the
by the leg.
Yeah, by the leg.
Yeah.
So Galactus, like we said, is about, 25, 30 feet tall. So he just grabs his leg and he's holding him like a little toy, right? So he's basically like a 12-inch G.I. Joe figure to Galactus. But then, what's his name? Ben Grimm, the Thing, is getting tired of people yapping. So he's like, I'm going to take matters into my own hands. So he punches Galactus in the foot, or kind of like
in the foot, right in the ankle.
Right in the ankle. And then we get this kind of odd shot of Galactus looking down. What, have you so soon forgotten whom you strike? Is like looking down at him, and Human Torch is like, I'm going to join in. So then he flies towards him, but he gets blasted by Galactus. But then Ben Grimm takes the opportunity to grab him by the foot, and we see the expression on his face as he's, what's that called? When you're straining to lift. And he ends up actually flipping over Galactus and smashing him onto the ground. It's pretty cool.
And the whole time Silver Surfer's like, no, stop it. You're just going to piss him off.
Right.
Don't get him mad. And we should also mention at this point in time, Silver Surfer was stuck on Earth. He could not leave Earth.
In fact, yeah, he was stuck on Earth from, I think, FF number 50 all the way to like 1986 or something. So
like whenever the new series started.
Right, like 20 years at least.
Maybe I'm trying to think what year that was. Maybe 87, 86, 88, somewhere
like that. Yeah.
And do you remember the key to why Reed Richards finally figured out a way to get him back? Because there'd be this barrier around Earth that he couldn't pass.
Funny? I did read it, but I can't remember what it was. How did he do it?
Well, the trick was, it wasn't that the Surfer was bound to Earth. It was that his board was.
Okay.
So they somehow manipulated his board to break it down to like on a molecular level, to shrink it, and they passed it through the barrier, and then he could go.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Steve Englehart.
Yeah.
Anyway, yep. So then Silver Surfer, he's like, hear me, Galactus, is the surfer that you seek. Do not waste your wrath on those who matter not. Right? Speaking in pseudo-Shakespearean English. I love it. And then, what's his name? Galactus kind of brushes them all aside. And then, this is a great shot of them, like, they've been knocked through the air by Galactus. And then, what's his name? The Thing is like, stretch, blast you, why don't you stretch? Because Mr. Fantastic is just in his regular mode. And then Invisible Woman's like, he can't bend, the impact knocked him out. It's just kind of cool because it's this shot of them flying through the air over a roller coaster. It's a really cool shot.
Yeah, there's an amusement park in the background. So Torch and Surfer go after him. Another thing I want to point out about Silver Surfer in this era, again, his whole body is silver metallic, like chrome, very shiny, but he's wearing underpants.
Yep. Gotta have those underpants. Yeah, I don't know why. Because
later...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Later on, when the second series we were talking about where he gets off Earth, he's not wearing the underpants.
Right.
Like his whole body's just metallic, and you don't see anything down there. He's just like a Ken doll down there, But
right.
It's probably. Well, I guess that's better. I don't know. So when he wanted to make the sweet, sweet love to S.H.I.E.L.D, did he have to like use cosmic power to?
There might have been a lot of manual stimulation in that situation. I think. I don't know.
He could. Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So okay. So then the Thing is all down on himself because, he was acting before he thought or thunk or whatever. Thinking with my muscles, right? So then the trend is like, okay, so Reed Richards is trying to think of the solution to this problem, right? It's like, what do we do?
We should mention Surfer catches Invisible Girl, and Reed wakes up and stretches to reach Torch.
Right.
So Torch grabs. So they're all safe.
I think that, again, that dialogue was added later to explain why he wasn't already stretched in that first panel.
I agree. Yeah, because it seems like there's no need for that. Yeah.
Exactly. So then, I love this. So how come no one worries about me? What am I, a mackerel or something? I'm going to use that today.
Mackerel.
The next person I see, I'm going to use that on them.
Also notice the surfer doesn't have ears as well. No ears for the Silver Surfer.
Good point.
But he's still wearing underpants. So I don't know. It's covering up something. I don't know what's going on.
So then Reed Richards is like, yeah, I know, the stakes are life and death for everyone. But then Surfer's like, I am the one Galactus wants. If I can flee, then he will leave. To follow me is the only way. But then Reed is like, but you said he has exiled you to here. You cannot break his barrier. True, but somewhere in the sky, the answer waits. So Surfer's going to go and surf out into space to, see if he can break the barrier. And of course, then we get this beautiful sequence of him. I love these John Buscema shots of him flying through space, and I love how the stars are all like almost as big as the sun. They're just gigantic white balls. Like, it's so cool. And then he sees
notice Galactus' ship is different here. Like, this is an early version of the ship. Like, compare it to what it was in Secret Wars, where it was kind of like
right.
I don't know, it had like tubes around it and shit, and like,
I'm sure it was different. They probably just made it up each story, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, he's trying to break through the barrier. Nope, gets knocked back. And I just love the attention to body language. The fact that he gets knocked off his board, and then in the next panel he's like, kind of holding on to the front of it. That's such a cool shot,
Yeah, he's belly down on the board, like he got knocked down, and he's like clutching the front of it for his life. Like,
God, it's so good, right? And then he just flies back towards the Earth, or towards the surface of the Earth. It's so cool. And then, so then he flies back down, back to the roller coaster where everyone still is fighting. And basically, Human Torch is, shooting him with fireballs. And
well, what he does is he turns 4 fireballs into other Human Torches.
Well, yeah, that's on the next page. Yeah, you're right. So he can create duplicates of himself that look exactly like him to fool.
Did you know he could do that?
I kind of knew it, but it's I don't think he used that power like later on in the 80s. Maybe he did, but I don't remember it. But then Galactus is like, well, I'm just gonna kill all of them. So he shoots one of them, and we get again a great shot. Right, there's like the Kirby crackle. So we see the outline of one of the Human Torch's duplicates getting destroyed by these beams, but it's amazing because it's just black dots in a white, fire outline, but it's clear exactly what it is. It's so well done,
Yeah. I'm a big Kirby crackle mark.
Oh,
I love
it's just
Kirby
amazing,
crackle.
yeah. So then, Human Torch is like, I can't keep it up much longer. Sooner or later, no, wait, the Surfer, he's returning. So then the Surfer's back. So he's like, you guys get out of here. The battle is mine. But then the Thing is like, nah. He's like, I don't want to lose my superhero merit badge. So then he grabs this Ferris wheel, and he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna throw it at Galactus. So then he carries it over to throw it at him. But this is a British comic, and so it ends halfway through the story, and it just says at the bottom, continued next issue, and that's it.
And if there's a guy who can eat planets, the one thing that's going to stop him? A Ferris wheel.
That's right.
Throw that Ferris wheel at him. Going to stop him. So there it is. Galactus, Silver Surfer, the Fantastic Four. What'd you think, Michael?
Well, like we said, I mean, this art, oh my God, it's
I think this art was weaker than the Captain Britain art. For John Buscema.
Here's the thing. Technically, you're right. I think the layouts were better in the other one because it's probably newer. But this one, because of the Joe Sinnott inks, I think it's more polished.
Yeah, I guess we should say this. What year did this come out in? I don't know, 122?
Around 72-ish, I think.
Yeah, so this was like, at least 5-6 years before he did the Captain Britain stuff. So you can see he's getting better, like at anatomy and stuff like that. But yeah, the storytelling is still excellent. This is what you want in comic book art,
Right,
still
right.
Great. So.
The story is fun. It's not bad. It's not great, but it's like a typical FF story of this time. I think it's not great, but it's good. It's a good action story.
Yeah, it's good. There's an easy to understand plot. Galactus wants Surfer back. Surfer doesn't want to go back to work for him again. So what's going to happen? Yeah, it's fine. It's awesome. It's what you want. Comic book, Michael. Good fights.
That's right.
Good fights. picking up a Ferris wheel and throwing it. But like you said, you can see problems with the Marvel way of doing things, where they do the art and then adding the dialogue, because sometimes the dialogue is just like covering up stuff that doesn't need to be explained.
Right.
And so John Buscema, we've never actually talked about him full tilt here on the story, on the podcast. But he was born in 1927 in Brooklyn. He died in 2002 from stomach cancer at the age of 74, and he was buried with an artist's pen in his hand. How about that, Michael?
It's amazing.
How would you like to be buried, Michael?
I haven't really thought about it, but probably just buried under a tree or something. One of those, compost burials, whatever it's called. How about you?
The great macho man Randy Savage had a beloved dog named Hercules, and then when Hercules died, they spread his ashes around the tree in the backyard. And he said that's what he wants to do when he dies, to spread my ashes back there on that tree with Hercules, because if it's good enough for Hercules, it's good enough for me. So
I love the Macho Man even more now.
Yeah, it's the best. Buscema graduated from Manhattan's High School of Music and Art in 1948. He got a staff job at Timely Comics under Stan Lee, and his first work was a 4-page story called Till Crime Do You Part, in Timely's Lawbreakers Always Lose, number 3, August 1948. So he was doing comics in 48. How about that?
Huh.
He was 21 years old. During a downturn in the comics business during the late 50s, Buscema spent 8 years as a commercial illustrator for advertising agencies and stuff. So he became a corporate dude doing advertising. And then he returned to comics with Marvel in 1966. And in the 1970s, he was drawing 3 to 4 books a month. Holy hell. It's a lot of books each month to draw.
Yeah, just like Kirby, right? Like probably 8 pages per day.
Yeah, and he said he really studied Kirby's style, to really get it down, and you can definitely see Kirby's influence in his work.
Yeah.
In 1980, he left superheroes and focused on Conan. Like he said, he loved Conan the Barbarian.
That's right.
And he did more than 200 issues of Conan over the various titles, because they had like 3 different things titled.
Right.
So he did a lot of Conan. Then his other most notable runs, Avengers, he did 83 issues and 2 annuals from numbers 41 to 300 from 1967 to 89. Fantastic Four, he did 63 issues between 107 and 309. And that was from 71 to 87. And I think that 309 may have been like a later one he came back on. But so that's still a lot of work on Fantastic Four. He did the first 17 issues of Silver Surfer, the Volume 1, 1968 to 70. 80 issues of Thor from 178 to 285. And from 70 to 85, from 1970 to 1985. He also did the first 8 issues of the Wolverine regular series in 1988.
Oh, great stuff, yep.
And he also was doing remember Wolverine started in
Marvel Comics Presents.
Yes.
That's right.
The anthology there. So he was drawing those. He also did 9 other issues of Wolverine over the years, up until 1990. And you mentioned it earlier, Michael, but in 1978 he and Stan Lee did the How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way.
That's right.
Which is still one of my favorite books ever. I still have it from my childhood.
Oh, so do I. Have you ever seen the video?
Yes.
Oh, it's great.
That's how I found out how to finally say his name. At least the way Stan Lee said his name in that is Buscema.
Right.
So, Buscema. So, I always said Shema.
I used to say Buscema, then it was Buscema. Yeah, so it's Buscema.
Buscema, yeah.
Okay.
So it is John Buscema, one of the greats.
Absolutely.
Again, the big 3, Kirby, Buscema, and I say John Romita Sr. would be my 3.
I'd agree, yep.
So there you go. Anything else about John Buscema?
No, but he's definitely one of my favorites. Absolutely. That's all I can say about him, yeah.
Also, we didn't mention Gary Friedrich, the writer of that Captain Britain story. Should we tell you a little bit about Gary Friedrich? He was actually buddies with Roy Thomas.
Okay.
And they were roommates. They both were from Missouri, and I guess he moved in with Thomas when Thomas was in New York, and Thomas recommended him to Charlton Comics editor Dick Giordano, and then Friedrich started doing romance comics from there. And in 1967, he succeeded Thomas on Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos, and he did 32 issues and 3 annuals of that. And then he did some Captain America, and he did Captain Britain's 15 to 26 and 28 to 35. And he also did the Ghost Rider from 1967, the original Ghost Rider, the cowboy one, right? The horseback guy.
I thought, oh, okay, yeah, okay. I was gonna say, I was gonna say, I knew he did the next one too.
Yes, and then he did Volume 2, 1 through 4 and 6 in 73, 74, and there was a big dispute he had with Marvel about who created Ghost Rider and all this stuff, and got settled out of court, but that was Gary Friedrich.
Oh, because he was still around up until a few years ago. He was still like at conventions and stuff, I think.
Yeah, sadly he died in 2018 at the age of 75.
Right.
So, but yeah, just wanted to mention Gary Friedrich real quick. All right, so, wow, we still have 2 stories to go, Micah. Holy fuck.
Yeah, I know. This is the longest episode ever.
All right, Micah, well, I just hope this you learned your lesson. Always picking those DC anthologies. So I'm making you work.
Get me back every time, eh?
I'm making you work.
All right.
All right, so after that Fantastic Four story, Micah, we also get Stan Lee Presents Captain Britain's Fun Page.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
By Owen McCarran.
Yeah,
and,
this is pretty cool, actually.
It's Spidey's True or False quiz, and they have a big picture of Spider-Man's face, and it's tilted a little bit, leaning left to right, and each section of his webbed mask has a question. Mm-hmm. And I would like to quiz you on these, Michael, but they don't have the correct answers. You have to buy the next issue to get the correct answers. So maybe I'll just ask you a few that I know. Kirk Connors is the Scorpion.
That's incorrect.
Yeah, that is false. Yeah. Who's Kirk Connors, Michael?
That's, oh, wait a minute. Kirk Connors is the Lizard.
That is correct, yes.
Yeah.
They just did the switcheroo, because then question 14, Mac Gargan is the Lizard.
He's the Scorpion.
No. That's right, he's the Scorpion. Yeah. Oh, here's one we did on the show, Michael. Martin Blank was the Gibbon.
That's right, that's right.
That is correct. And his last name was Blank because he's an orphan. They didn't know his last name, so they just said it was Blank. The Ox was one of the Enforcers.
Yeah, he was.
Yep, that is true. Man-Wolf is J. Jonah Jameson's brother.
No, it's his son.
That is, wow, look at Mike L. He knows his stuff.
No, I'm on fire, eh?
Trying to see if there's any other ones that... Reed Richards built the Spider-Mobile.
I was supposed to read that one. I don't think that's true, is it?
I don't know.
Ooh, you got a mystery. Maybe the listeners know.
I want to say he did.
Oh, maybe.
Well, no, Spider-Man built it himself, right?
No, I don't think so.
Well, what's the Spider-Mobile? Because he had a buggy, a dune buggy as well. Was that the Spider-Mobile? Or
yeah, I think that was it. I think so.
Well, I think he may have built that himself, didn't he? In his spare time? I don't know. All right, we'll look into it. Next week, tune in. We'll explain the answer. All
right. Okay. So, yeah, we should probably get to this because we're already at our longest episode ever, and we're only halfway through. Okay. So our next story is... Now, I'm sure you're going to talk about this guy, but this is the Nick Fury Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. story done by someone who only did, 5 issues?
Yeah, it's a little misleading, though. Jim Steranko, we're talking about. Jim Steranko. He only did 4 issues of this title here of Nick Fury, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. But he did Nick Fury for about, how many issues? Strange Tales, 151 to 153, which was basically Nick Fury's book at the point. Kirby did the layouts for those issues, and he drew over the layouts. And then he was the writer and artist from 54 to 68.
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, because when you hear he was such an influential artist, I'm like, well, he only did 4 issues of Nick Fury. How? But yeah, he did 14 or so.
Okay, makes sense.
Yes, but for Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., he drew issues 1, 3, and 5, and he did the covers for issues 4, 6, and 7.
Okay.
He did the covers for those other ones too, but he did just the covers for 4, 6, and 7. So there you go. And Jim Steranko was born in Reading, PA, in 1938. I'm from Pennsylvania, Michael. Me and Steranko, both Pennsylvania. He's famous for introducing surrealism, pop art, and graphic design into comic book art. In his early 20s, he was an illusionist, an escape artist, and a close-up magician. He was also in a rock band. He worked as an illustrator for a local printing company, and then he worked for an ad agency. And he took a fan tour of DC by Julius Schwartz, the DC editor, I guess.
Right.
And he just really thought, maybe I'll do comic books. So that's what got him into comic books, taking a fan tour of DC. His first real comics work was in '66 for Harvey Comics under Joe Simon. And he also approached Marvel And he had a meeting with Stan Lee, and Stan Lee really wasn't that interested. He was very busy, so he was just going to blow him off. And Roy Thomas met with him and liked his art so much, he said, Stan has to see this. And he took him into Stan Lee, and right there Stan Lee hired him and gave him the job to do Strange Tales or whatever, or Nick Fury. So how about that?
Right. Yeah.
Roy Thomas, Michael.
Always Roy Thomas.
All roads lead back to Roy Thomas.
Yes. Also have you know that Jim Steranko was actually a guest at a comic convention in Windsor a few years ago.
Did you talk to him?
No, I didn't go.
What?
It's a long story. It's a long story. I'll explain it to you off the air.
You're Mr. Comic Book. He's in your hometown at a convention, and you give him the hi-hat. You're like, no, forget it, Strinker.
Larry Hama was also at a convention in Windsor, at a different convention, also did not go to that convention.
Good Lord.
But I'll give you a hint. These are all rival comic conventions, Mike Dell. So that's all. You can read between the lines there, okay?
Rival comic conventions. Because there's a big blood feud up in Canada between their comic conventions.
Well, just like all those rival podcasts, right, about Bronze Age comic books that we would never guest on.
That's right. Mike, I refused to go on the only other Quasar podcast in existence.
That's right. Actually, I did.
What a dick.
Anyway. Okay. Back to the comics, folks.
So, also about Steranko, he did Captain America's 110, 111, and 113 in 1969. So check those out if you like them. Hulk was in one of those, I think, if I'm remembering correct. He also did a lot of covers, including a very famous Hulk cover.
Oh, that's right, where he's holding up all the rubble on him or whatever?
Well, he's holding up like the...
like a mountain?
What's the title of the Hulk?
Oh,
but it's drawn
okay.
Like,
I'm mixing it up with the Secret Wars one. Okay.
Yeah, Secret Wars, he's holding up the mountain. He left Marvel in 1969 over a dispute with... Stan Lee over a 7-page story in the book Tower of Shadows. So that's why Steranko left Marvel, because of a dispute over a 7-page story in Tower of Shadows. The story was called At the Stroke of Midnight, and Lee was changing stuff, and Steranko just said, you know what? If you hire me to do the job, just hire me.
Right.
And so he got mad and left. Years later, looking back, he said he was probably wrong for making such a big deal of it. But I just think it's funny. We have this hugely influential comic book artist, and he leaves over a squabble about Tower of Shadows.
Right, that no one's ever heard of.
Yeah, it's crazy. Right. Later on, he did, we mentioned this before on the show, but he did concept art for Raiders of the Lost Ark and Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Nice.
That movie as well. But he made his money in commercial art and illustrations. Because he said at the time, the reason he just left Marvel was because he also was working at an advertising agency, making a lot of money, better money. And he was also in a rock band at night, and he loved doing that. So he's like, I just, it's too busy. Like, why am I busting my ass fighting with Stan Lee over this stuff I'm barely getting paid for anyway? So fuck it, he just left.
Wow.
So there you go, Jim Steranko. And of course, you always like to mention that he was the inspiration for Mr. Miracle, right?
That's right.
The escape artist.
He's a man of many talents, Jim Steranko.
So this issue was Nick Fury Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. number 3. It's a portion of that, and it's the Hellhound of Ravenlock. And I don't think we really have to get too much into this one.
Yeah. I'll just say that it's clearly inspired by Hound of the Baskervilles.
Yes, and Hound of the Baskervilles, Michael. Do you know the history of that? Here's a quiz for you. There were 4 Sherlock Holmes novels. What number was Hounds of the Baskervilles? Hound of the Baskervilles.
Okay, I believe it was number 3.
That is correct.
Yeah, because I've read them all.
Can you name them all?
Ooh, geez, what is the first one called? A Study in Scarlet?
Correct.
Okay. Oh, man. Sign of the Four?
Correct. One left. I'm impressed.
Oh, geez, the 4th one? Okay, which one is about the Mafia? Is it the Sign of the Four, or is it the 4th one?
It's not really the Mafia.
Okay, yeah, but it's... Okay, I don't remember what that 4th one's called. What's it called again?
Valley of Fear.
Oh, right. But that's the one where they have the whole first half of the story, and then they flash back for, kind of the twist, right?
Yeah, it's... If memory serves me correctly, it's about the Mormons and mining towns.
Right. It's not really
towns,
mafia, but it is like a secret society of criminals, yeah.
but it's not the Mafia. But yeah.
Right. But it's very, very good. I liked all of them.
Yeah, how about that? I'm impressed by your Sherlock Holmes knowledge, Michael.
It makes it seem like I'm a big reader, but I've actually only read Sherlock Holmes. No, here's a question. Like, just out of curiosity, what is your favorite short story by Sherlock Holmes short story?
Well, just to remind everybody, I am a mystery writer. My character is Honest John Churchfield, the second best detective in Victorian England.
Okay.
They're comedic mysteries, and it's based. I did it because I was pissed when I went back and I read Edgar Allan Poe and his C. August Dupin stories. I realized, holy hell, Doyle just ripped off Poe.
Yes.
So I did the Churchfield to make fun of Doyle. But yeah, Holmes, I read all of them. I'm trying to think my favorite ones. The Speckled Band is always good.
That's mine, yeah, Speckled Band.
Yeah. That might be one of the best written ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot. The early Holmes stories, they really weren't even mysteries. They're just weird stories, like little peculiar tales. Like, there was never a whodunit situation, you know what I mean? It was never like, oh, who did it? It was just weird tales, mysterious tales with little catchphrases. Not catchphrases, but hooks, gimmicks to them.
Well, I think the thing I didn't like about some of the early ones maybe was when the person would come with the problem, and then Sherlock Holmes would figure it out in 5 seconds and then explain to him, this is what happened. But the reason I like Speckled Band is because there's more of a mystery, like, oh, we have to go to the house, find out what's happening, we have to wait, and it's more of a story, you know?
I also like the Dancing Men, the code. They had to figure out the code.
Oh, right, yes.
Yeah. But anyway. So we'll save this for our Sherlock Holmes podcast.
Oh, yeah, there's one coming up. Yep. That's another weekly one we're going to launch in celebration of our 1-year anniversary. Anyway.
221B Baker Street. Me and Mike L. talking Sherlock Holmes.
There you go.
So yeah, this story is basically just a ripoff of Hound of the Baskervilles, and Nick Fury, for some reason, is at this estate, in the UK, trying to figure out what's going on with this demon dog, and I don't know. That's really all we need to say.
But I will say one thing, because I've read this before. The one thing I noticed is the way the story starts out. There's this splash page, right? But then on the second page, it just cuts to this other splash page with all this narration. Suddenly, Fury is witness to a heart-stopping vision across the misty expanse of the moor. So it's not, instead of being panel-to-panel storytelling, right? It's basically almost like an illustrated book at this point. So and I read this original issue, and I'm trying to remember if that's how it was set up in the original issue, or if this is something they're doing for the UK. No, I'm pretty sure it's this, because I remember noticing and kind of being jarred by that when I originally read it. So I'm pretty sure that's exactly how it was in the original. Because
this is only the third part, so I'm wondering if that first splash page was the original splash page of the original part, and then what I'm saying?
maybe. Maybe this is the middle of the story, but it's still an awkward page either way. But I do remember reading it, so I'm pretty sure this is how it was. But all I can say is, just looking at the art, it's clear. Again, he's another master. There's no doubt about that. But sometimes I wonder about his storytelling, but I don't know if it's because he's also writing it himself, right? You notice the one panel where she's like, Ramson, he'll be killed. We've got to help him. That thing forcing him to the ground. And then the guy says, no, look, he's using the gun. It's stuff like that is awkward. Yes, there's a lot of awkwardness here. And again, he's fighting this demon dog who he's trying to shoot it, but it's a ghost. Yet it's a ghost, yet it can also bite his hand. I was confused. I don't know. Right. And then the design. I will say this is not top tier Steranko. I will say. Yeah, I'll agree with that. Yeah. It looks rushed a lot of times. Especially some of the faces. Yeah, that one guy is clearly Peter Cushing. That's kind of an awkward likeness there. I don't know who Peter Cushing is. Well, he was Grand Moff Tarkin in Star Wars, but he also played Sherlock Holmes. That's not going to help me. He was Sherlock Holmes? He was Sherlock Holmes in the movie, the Hammer film, Hound of the Baskervilles. And he played Sherlock Holmes on a BBC television series in the 60s. Okay, never saw either of them. So anyway, he's a great actor. You can tell it's Steranko, though. You can see that's the ink, the way it's inked and everything. You know it's Steranko as soon as you look at it. But this isn't his best. I'll put it that way. But, yeah, that's true.
Still good.
But yeah,
all
really
right.
good art. Really good art.
All right, so Spidey, the Iron Man, together tomorrow.
Right,
tomorrow.
on to the next one.
Yeah, we're done with that one. That's it's Hound of the Baskervilles with Nick Fury.
Right,
That's all it is.
right.
So don't worry about it. Tomorrow, and tomorrow.
Yeah. And this is, are we going to talk about who the creators are?
Well, Jerry Conway's the writer, and the artist is Ross Andrew. I did not do a bunch of research on Ross Andrew, but I always liked him because he was a Spider-Man artist, right? Regular artist?
Yep, from the 100s in there.
Like he kind of took over after Romita Sr., correct?
Yeah, like he was, like basically there was kind of Gil Kane in there for a while, but then once he left, it was Ross Andrew all the way up to like maybe even 200, I think. And
I should say it's Andrew, Andru. So if you're trying to find him somewhere. Right. But yeah, I always liked his stuff. I will say the art here, I wasn't always a fan of it. But
you were or you weren't?
We're not. Because of, well, I'll point it out, but as we go through. But basically, Iron Man and Spider-Man are in the future. They got transferred to the 23rd century.
Right.
They're stuck fighting a war that they know nothing about. So they're fighting all these dudes with laser cannons and whatnot. And on page 2, they're my favorite, Michael. Iron Man's flying around, and he's not looking where he's going, and this big robot just punches him in the chest. And what does he say?
Ugh, my heart?
Yeah. My heart.
Yeah. Wang.
He got punched in his heart. Like Big John Studd, his finisher for a while was the heart punch.
Really?
Yeah, the heart punch. Bang.
And then on the next page, that robot, that is 100% Ross Andrew. That face, you can totally tell that's Ross Andrew, right?
Yeah, big ribbit.
Right.
And, but one of the things I don't like about the art, like I love the punch in the heart, but look at the panel right before that. Like, look at Iron Man's head there. That's, I don't know, the proportions are all fucked.
I think Ross Andrew is one of those guys where, yeah, I was never a huge fan, but now when I look back at it, I kind of feel nostalgia for it because it's got that classic feel. But at the time, I'm sure that he was kind of below the average artist of that day.
Oh, I don't know. No, what do you think his work on Spider-Man was below the average artist?
Well, I mean, if you're comparing him to Gil Kane and John Romita Sr.
Well, but they're like illegally elite,
yeah,
you know?
I'm just saying, but like if you were a kid buying Spider-Man and you were used to Gil Kane and then this happened, you might be like, cause this is the thing, is a lot of people did not like him, and I'm just saying that's probably why. But now looking back, you realize, oh, actually, no, he was a great artist. You know?
Yeah, it's just he's following. It's like, you know, I was going to make a football analogy, Michael, but you don't like football.
But I wouldn't understand it. Yeah. So make a wrestling analogy.
Well, it's kind of like being the Tonga Kid, but you're not Jimmy Superfly Snuka. You know?
Okay, there you go. I get that one.
Like Snuka left, they bring in the Tonga Kid. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. Yeah.
Now, here's another one for you. Do you remember Haku? Is it Haiku and Tama or Haku and Tama?
Haku. And then Haiku is a poem.
Yeah, right. Haku ended up teaming up with Andre the Giant later, right? Didn't
That's
he?
right. Yeah.
That's right. Okay, I was trying to figure. That was the most mismatched tag team, eh?
Well, Haku. They were all part of the Heenan family.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I just thought it was weird.
Haku is considered one of the most legitimate badass dudes in the history of wrestling.
Really?
Like, no one wanted to fuck with Haku.
Huh, interesting.
Like, he got in a lot of, like, famous stories about him getting in bar fights and, like, biting off dudes' noses.
Yikes.
So, yeah, don't fuck with Haku. All right. Anyway, getting back to this. So, Spider-Man helps Iron Man beat up the robot. Well, Iron Man can't fight at all because of his heart. You know, he got punched in the heart.
Right.
And he's staggering all over the place. So, Spider-Man beats the robot up, and then he's helping Iron Man down the... And again, page of... bottom panel, page 3, look at Iron Man's head there. What's going on? It's like shaped all weird. I don't understand.
Right. Exactly.
It's shaped like an artillery shell.
Yeah.
Not like old shell head, I guess. He's took it serious.
Original page 32, you mean, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's an odd panel, exactly.
So then we get this other dude. He's trying to figure out like who the invaders are. There's an invader coming into, I don't know, his stronghold. Who is this guy? I don't even fucking know his name. Zarko. His name is Zarko. But he looks like a dime store Lex Luthor.
Right. But we got to talk about this thing he has here. But now, with the time storm level sunk so low because of their presence, the invader's stronghold is mine. And he has an actual like meter reader thing that says storm level, and it says high and low.
But the thing I don't like, Michael, is high is on the left, low is on the right. Usually, low would be on the left.
You're
you
right.
always go left to right with these things. So,
good point.
I don't know. Zarko, you need to look into your research and design department because they're letting you down.
Yeah.
I don't know. Zarko. Have you ever heard of Zarko? I've never encountered Zarko before. Yeah.
Never.
He's just a bald dude in like a jumpsuit. That's all he is.
Yeah, not much to him, eh?
So then Spider-Man and Iron Man, they're trying to run from that other robot. They go into another door and another airlock. And they turn around. And all the Avengers are captured, Michael.
Yep, just another random issue of Marvel Team Up, I always say.
See, I never read a lot of Marvel Team Up. Is this always happening, a Marvel Team Up? Just random things?
I've been, as you know, I have a Spider-Man podcast, and Marvel Team Up is the black sheep of the Spider-Man titles. And I was trying to convince my co-host that it was better when it was under different writers, but judging by the story, I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, I agree. So all the Avengers are like stuck in these glass boxes stacked on top of each other. And notice, Michael, you got the Vision, it looks like Black Panther, Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, Thor, Captain America, and Jarvis.
yeah, you're right.
Why capture Jarvis? Like, I don't know. I need someone to make tea for me. But yeah, but there's a mystery man sitting at a computer terminal at the front of the room.
That's right.
And Spider-Man says, "Hey, I bet that's the guy we need to fight." And he literally says that. I'm not just making that up.
Yeah,
he
you're
literally
right.
says that. That's the guy we're supposed to be fighting. So he goes out and charges at him, and the guy turns around. Who is he, Michael?
Kang the Conqueror. But I've also got to tell you, wait, let's go back to that panel. When so Spidey says, and unless I'm wrong, that's the guy we're supposed to be fighting. Then Iron Man says, Spider-Man, do you realize who that is? Spidey, what do I care who he is? Isn't that great?
That's awesome right. He just wants to punch.
Right.
I love it. Just get the punching, Spidey. But yeah, it's Kang the Conqueror. Now, we can't see, these are black and white issues, because Kang's a very colorful fellow, the purple and green outfit and the big go-go boots he wears.
Right.
But I always thought Kang was a cool-looking dude. And I guess people are saying maybe he'll be the next. Yeah, because his face is like, his eyes, his mouth, there's lines surrounding him and stuff. Is there talk that he might be the next Marvel Cinematic Universe villain?
I don't know. I really don't know, but he would be great. The problem is, though, is that I hope they don't screw up his visual, right? That they gotta stick with this visual. It's so cool.
Well, they didn't screw up Thanos, though, so hopefully they'll
No, that's true. Yeah. But most of them, like when they did, what's his name, Arnim Zola, it was just a computer. Yeah, like they completely screwed that up, so.
Well, I can get away with that, because, like, Arnim Zola was really kind of like in a belly of somebody, right?
Arnim Zola, I always mix them up, but Arnim Zola is the one with the face on his chest and the camera on his head. Yeah, the little bulb on his head, like a stick in a circle. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. But yeah. So anyway, Arnim Zola. Yeah, whatever. So then Kang just zat and frack, and he just hits them both with like electrical bolts and knocks them both out. And, right. Because you don't fuck with Kang. But then Zarko shows up. And Zarko says, "Hey, Kang, I got a gun." And look, it says the power level is all the way up to high, so look out. Here we go. And so they're about to have a standoff. And then the final panel, Spider-Man, he's like, "We blew it. All right. The only question is, what do we do now?" Oh boy, paralyzed from the neck down, and now this.
Yeah, the way those bubbles are, like, that's supposed to be read first. But the way they're positioned, again, left to right, you read left to right, it's a little strange. So, all right, we can't answer that until next ish in a story we call Crisis in 1977. So
maybe they'll reboot everything, eh?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, not the best story, but Iron Man got punched in the heart, so that was pretty cool.
So it's good. Yeah, this is definitely, I mean, I know we were kind of dismissing the Nick Fury story, but I would say this is the weak link. Yeah, I would say, yeah. Mm-hmm. Although we get to see Kang and Zarko, so that's something. That's cool. We never saw Zarko. But overall, Michael, for the whole experience of Captain Britain 26. What do I rate the whole experience? Yeah. Ooh, well, I mean, technically, the art, oh my god, I mean, I have to give the art at least a 9. Like, You've got 2 John Buscema stories, 1 Jim Steranko.
Yeah, that's true.
And then you've got Ross Andrew, who's still good. So, yeah, I give the art a 9. I give the writing... oh, I'll have to give it a 5, I think, at best. I mean, some of it's pretty bad.
Oh, yeah.
Like maybe I don't think 4.
I think the best writing here is probably in the Fantastic Four story, but even that wasn't that great.
Right.
So, so overall, I'm looking 7 overall.
Yeah, what is that? So what's 9 and 4? Yeah, I guess that's 7. Yeah, I guess I'll give it a 7.
Well, close to 7 if you round up with that.
Right.
Yeah. Again, I don't know how you do math in Canada, so I don't want to question you.
It's all different here.
The metric system and everything.
Right.
I don't understand. But, you get... Again, I think it's lesser Buscema in the second story and a little lesser Steranko in his story, but it's still Buscema and Steranko, so who cares?
Right. Yeah, this is definitely, like, if you would have picked any other issue of Captain Britain, it probably wouldn't have been as good a cross-section of artists. I'm going to guess.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yep.
Captain Britain. Man, it seems like we started this so long ago. I forget what we talked about.
I think we're still in day 2, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. Holy hell.
Well, I'll have our listeners know that next week is our big 50th episode.
Oh.
And I got something big planned, Mike Dell.
I'm very excited.
First of all, I've got a secret special guest from the United States. Should I tell you who it is now?
Well, it won't be a secret if you told me, but it might help. It might help the numbers if it's like a really good guest. You know, like maybe people.
The numbers
tune in.
might go through. Okay, yeah, the numbers might go up. Kevin Jank.
What?
Yeah.
You went behind my back and got my buddy Kevin Jank.
That's right.
Without telling me. You son of a bitch.
Went behind your back.
Well, I'm gonna book Bex Luthor without telling you.
Get me back, all right.
But,
rascal.
Well, if Jank's the guest, I'm guessing it's Spider-Man related.
Actually, you know what's funny? It's not. I picked the comic first, assuming he was a fan, and then I found out he wasn't, but then I had him on anyway. So that should give you a hint about what we're doing. But I'll give you one hint, okay? My next mini project is to review comics that debatably began the Bronze Age of comics, since we're a Bronze Age comic book podcast, right? So to celebrate our big 50th episode, my first nominee for what began the Bronze Age. Do you have any guesses, Mike Dell?
Began the Bronze Age. Well, I really do not know. I have no idea.
Well, think about big characters and particular things that might have happened that would have brought them into the 70s as opposed to the 60s.
Shaft? I don't know.
Close.
I have no idea.
You want me to tell you?
Yes.
Superman number 233.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's some bullshit right there.
Kryptonite Nevermore.
This is bullshit. Because first of all, when you said Bronze Age, I assumed it was a Marvel character because, DC doesn't count. So then to make Jank read a Superman comic book, that seems like just a horrible thing to do to someone.
Well, he did say he was a fan of Smallville and the cartoon, so that's why I decided to go ahead with him anyway. It's the 50th. Come on, aren't you excited?
No, fuck Superman. But you love Superman. You love comic books. You know everybody in the world that loves Superman, yet you couldn't think of anyone else who likes Superman?
No, I can't. Anyway.
Yeah, because Superman's dumb. That's
right.
Why.
No one likes Superman.
No one's even heard of him. Superman.
Anyway, so yeah, next week is the big one. So we've gone an hour 45. I'm going to slot in at least 3 hours and 6 minutes. How about that?
No, we'll probably be done in 10 minutes for Superman.
All right.
Does he fight anybody cool or anything?
I can't give that away. You got to wait till you read it.
Well, you might have to give it away. Otherwise, people aren't going to tune in. It's Superman. Who cares?
We'll see. You'll watch. You watch those numbers shoot through the roof.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. Did I totally missed the number of the issue? As soon as you said Superman, I got angry. What are we reading?
233.
Superman 233. I hope Kryptonite plays a part in it.
It sure does. How did you know?
All right. Here we go. Kryptonite.
So yeah, next week, folks, the big 50th. The 50th episode. Every week we do a different Bronze Age comic book, and next week we will be reviewing a comic that arguably began the Bronze Age, at least for DC, and at the very least for Superman. So, until next Tuesday, disperse!